Magandang umaga pong muli sa inyong lahat. Ako po si Pastor Bong, bumabati na isang mapagpalang very blessed Friday morning sa ating lahat. Today, as we continue the 66 books of the Bible, we are now in the book of Esther. Yes. It is an amazing, a powerful book that will really open our eyes for what we're going to learn today. In Hebrew name, Esther's name was Hadassah. Hadasshah. No? Esther's Hebrew name was Hadassah or Hadasa. Yan, gandahan natin ng konti. It means the word Hadassah it means it is a myrtle. No, a myrtle is a kind of flower. No, you can search in Google the image of a myrtle flower. Okay, so but her Persian name became Esther. Okay, later on you will know why it became Esther. Okay, and how did she belong to Persia and how she became queen of Persia. Okay, so in Persian word, that word Esther, it means star. Okay, so in Persian language, it means star. Okay, remember, we've talked about the Persian kingdom, okay, the kingdom of Persia, which is, in modern day, is Iran. Okay, so the Greek title for this book is Esther. So despite her heritage as a Hebrew exile, obviously, si Esther or Hadassah is a Hebrew. Okay, she was, her family, she was one of those people who were captive by the Persian Empire or the Mesopotamian Empire during the Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom captivity of the Assyrians and the Babylonians. So, despite her heritage as a Hebrew, na siya ay talagang Ebreo, Jewish siya, she became Queen of Persia. Yes, she became a Queen of Persia through unusual circumstances. May isang pangyayari, there's a circumstances, it happened that there is one situation in Persia during that time that made her a queen. Alam nyo, remember this, wala pong swerte, walang malas sa buhay ng Kristiyano. No? All of the things that is happening in our life is orchestrated by God. And God will move mountains. God will depart the sea so that His will could happen in our life. So, Esther or Hadassah is a Jewish orphan. Ulila na po itong si Esther. Okay? And she was raised by her cousin by the name of Mordecai. Yung pinsan niya, na si Mordecai obviously is elder than her, was the one who raised her up. Yun ang nagpalaki sa kanya. So, ibig sabihin, Esther, originally a Hebrew woman, is a beautiful woman. Okay? Magaganda po ang mga Jewish talaga. Okay, but yung lineage ni Esther, malalaman niyo mamaya kung saan siya nanggaling sa 12 tribes of Israel, is talagang lahi ng magaganda at saka mga pogi. Parang ikaw at ako. Nasa lineage tayo ng mga 12 of Israel, no? Tingnan mo yung katabi mo, oo, talagang ikaw ay pinagpala ka ng Panginoon, you are blessed by God, no? Lahat ng anak ng Diyos, magaganda at mga gwapo yan pag anak ka ni Lord. Can I hear an amen to that? Lahat tayo, maganda tayong lahat sa paningin ni Lord. Okay? So, eto na. Okay, bigyan ko kayo ng background. We have studied yesterday the kings of Persia. Okay? Si Cyrus the Great, si Cambyses II, si Darius the Great, and then si Xerxes, yung pang-apat, the fourth one. Now, King Xerxes does have another name. And his another name is King Ahasuerus. Okay? That is his other name. King Ahasuerus. Okay. Take note of that, ha? Okay. Esther was an orphan. Ulila, patay na magulang ni Esther. And she was living in Persia. Okay. Now, Esther was raised up by her cousin Mordecai. Okay. Now, during the reigning king of Persia under the name of Xerxes or King Ahasuerus, take note of this. You may read in the Old Testament na bakit nung nakasulat sa First Kings or Second Kings or sa Second Chronicles, ang pangalan niya is si King Xerxes. Bakit dito sa Book of Esther, King Ahasuerus? Okay, pareho lang 'yan. Walang pinagkaiba 'yan, parang ganito. Para madali, okay? Ang pangalan ni Digong is Rodrigo Roa Duterte. But he was known as President Digong or Duterte. Ganon din ito. Okay? Si King Xerxes I or also known as King Ahasuerus. Kaya pabago-bago ng pangalan. Pero isa lang din yun. Okay? And King Ahasuerus or King Xerxes I was known for his invasion of Greece. At si King Ahasuerus, meron siyang queen. Ang pangalan ng queen niya, si Queen Vashti. V-A-S-T-I. Ngayon, ano nangyari? Meron palang queen itong si King Xerxes or si King Ahasuerus. But then, why did Esther became the queen of Persia? Okay. Merong isang malaking celebration sa Persia. And King Ahasuerus was so proud that he invited everyone. In-invite niya yung buong kingdom niya to show his accomplishments. He wants to show his treasure. He wants to show the wealth of the land. So ang daming bisita noong time na yun. And she asked his queen, Queen Vashti, to show up, at least give thanks to the visitors. Pero matigas ang ulo ng asawa niya. She did not show up. So obviously, napahiya si King Xerxes. Excuse me. Or si King Ahasuerus. He was embarrassed in front of many visitors, in front of many officials, government officials. So naging naging rumor yun. No? At ang naging dating is ganito. Kung yung asawa ng hari, she was able to disrespect the king, and it will be followed by even the normal citizens of the kingdom. Eh yung asawa nga ng hari, hindi nakikinig sa kanya eh. Ako pa kaya makikinig sa iyo? See, there's already a lesson there. A lesson of submission to husbands. No? Kaya pagdating ng New Testament, idiniin ni Paul yun. Diba? Sa Ephesians 25. Na, wife, submit to your husband. May mga time na gano'n na kailangan nating suportahan yung asawa natin. Suportahan natin yung magulang natin. Because they are our parents, not because they are king, but they are our parents, and we need to give respect to them. Lalo na they are in a situation where his father was so proud to show yung kanyang accomplishments sa mga tao. Pero napahiya si King Xerxes. So ano nangyari? Okay. So ano nangyari ngayon dito? Nagalit yung hari and even yung mga advisors ng king. And they plot a scheme na para mag-get rid, mawala yung reyna na yun. Okay, moving forward. Sino si Esther? She rise to royalty. Okay? And yung influence ni Esther was not as a concubine. And she became a legitimate queen. Pero itong ginawa ni Esther, she concealed her identity as a Jewish. She concealed her true lineage because siya ay galing sa tribe ni Benjamin. So, sa lahat ng storya ng buhay, may bida, may kontrabida. Mamaya makikilala niyo yung kontrabida. No, ang pangalan si Haman. Okay. Ano ngayon si Mordecai? Siya ang bida rito. Okay. Na tumulong kay Esther. Ang ganda ng storya na to, mga kapatid. So, eventually Mordecai will hold a high position in the royalty of the kingdom. And what happened to that villain, to the kontrabida, will have a tragic end. Okay? So, ngayon, since after the death of her parents, binibigyan ko kayo ng background ni Esther at saka ni Mordecai. After the death of her parents, inampon siya ni Mordecai. And she was raised as her own or older brother or somewhat like that. No, pero magpinsan lang sila. Okay. So ngayon, kung titrace ninyo ang genealogy ni Esther, they came from Kish ancestry. Okay, yung ancestry ni Kish. Kish was a wealthy and influential man from the tribe of Benjamin. Okay? So, ang lineage naman ni Kish, I want you to know this, ang tatay ni Kish is si Abiel. Okay? Ang kanyang lolo naman ni Esther, ni Kish is si Zeror. Okay? I'm mentioning these names. At ang kanyang great-grandfather is si Bekorath. At ang kanyang great-great-grandfather is si Apia. Bakit ko binabanggit ito? Listen to this. Okay. Si Kish may anak. Ang anak ni Kish, si Saul. Okay. Si Saul, who happens to be the son of Kish, he was renowned for being talagang striking appearance. It means napakagandang lalaki nito. Parang ikaw. No? Si Saul. He was taller and he was more handsome than anyone else in all of Israel. Who is this Saul, son of Kish? Saul, mga kapatid, you will see his story in the book of Samuel. He was Saul who were anointed by Prophet Samuel to become the first king of Israel. Okay. So, yan yun. Si Saul, yung pinalitan ni King David. Okay? So, okay, nakita na natin yung line. So, ibig sabihin, if Saul is taller and handsome, and he came from the tribe of Benjamin, what more sa isang babae na galing sa same tribe? Magkamag-anak si King Saul at si Esther. Probably, Esther, merong height taller than anyone else. Baka pang beauty queen ito, pang Miss Universe pageant ang dating ni Esther. Kasi magaganda ang lahi ng Benjaminites. So in summary, okay, ito naman si Mordecai na nagpalaki sa kanya. He was responsible for Esther. Naging bida rin siya dito sa storya na to. Okay? So ngayon, si Mordecai was the son of Jair. Jair's father was Shimei. Okay? At si Shimei naman father was Kish. So, making Mordecai a Benjaminite. So, kung tatay niya si Kish, so magkakmag-anak, magpinsan silang dalawa ni Esther. Ngayon, eto na. How did she become a legitimate queen of Persia? Because of her remarkable beauty, the eye of King Ahasuerus was sparkling when he saw Esther. He catch the eyes of King Ahasuerus. And he won the favor of King Ahasuerus. Moving forward, nagpatawag sila ng mga dalaga sa kingdom to replace Queen Vashti. Okay? Tinanggal niya bilang queen si Queen Vashti. Pinalitan niya. Nagpatawag siya. She selected 20. Probably like mga 20. Not sure kung 20 nga talaga. No? O yun, grand lola niya si Rachel na nanay ni Benja. O tama, yeah. So ngayon, when the king and the servant of the king called up to beautiful women of the kingdom, may process yun. Okay? Ititira sila sa king, may kanya-kanya silang mga kwarto doon, pakakainin sila, bibihisan sila, and then 1 year yun. Okay? But in span of 10 months, talagang iba ang dating ni Esther doon sa king. Kaya, pinronounce niya na siya ang gusto ko. So, pinamilian silang lahat. Okay? So, while the look of Esther got the favor of the king, pero yung kanyang deeper faith in God still remain. Probably tinuruan sila ni Benjamin, na ipasa kay Kish, na ipasa kay Mordecai, and si Mordecai na nagpalaki kay Esther, tinuruan siya ng takot sa Diyos. Importante yan. So one thing that we can learn in this is you have to pass on that same kind of faith in your future generations. Yung pananampalataya natin, yung faith natin kay Jesus Christ, we have to pass it on to our grandchildren, to our great-grandchildren. Never ever forget that. Nataniman ninyo. Same thing with what happened with Esther. Because she was raised by Mordecai, who came from Benjamin's tribe, and they are faithful to God. They are God-fearing people. So, the Book of Esther, if you will read this, it is a great story of intrigue and heroism. And it is a story, ito istorya na whose contribution in the scriptures has been debated for centuries. Alam niyo ba kung bakit pinagtatalunan ito? Pinagdidibatihan ito hanggang ngayon ang Book of Esther? You know why? From the beginning of chapter 1 hanggang chapter 10 ng Book of Esther, the name of God was never mentioned in this book. But God did not fail to provide them and to take care of them. Yes, that's true. God fails to to mention even a single word in this book, mga kapatid. And in fact, the only reference of any kind to spiritual discipline you will read in the Book of Esther is when they pray and they fast. So, however, God's hand of providence and protection stands out throughout the book, especially when God's people appear in grave danger of destruction. Alam niyo kung bakit? Kasi kagaya ng maraming storya, as with many great stories, both heroes and the villains, yung bida at yung kontrabida, ito ang mababasa natin dito sa Book of Esther. The heroes include Esther herself and Mordecai. At ang pinaka-kontrabida dito, parang yung mga pelikula ni Fernando Po Jr., na bida si FPJ, ang kontrabida o Paquito Diaz dito, o Romy Diaz dito, is yung kanang kamay ng hari, si Haman. No? Because Haman designs a brilliant plan para patayin lahat ng Jewish, to exterminate all the Jews. Kasi bakit kamo? No? Nung ipinromote siya, kasi meron dalawang tao sa kingdom. Okay? Diretso na. There was two personalities in the kingdom of King Ahasuerus who plot to kill the king. Ngayon, si Mordecai, who is the cousin of Esther, narinig niya yung plano. And sinabi niya yun sa hari, pinasabi niya yun sa hari. So itong dalawa na to na nahuli na may masamang plot sa king, they were punished. No? At ang ginawa, yung isa sa mga tao niya na si Haman, tinaas niya ng position. Ginawa niyang kanang kamay. Si Haman is greedy yan sa position. No, kaya nung na-promote siya, lumabas yung yabang ni Haman. Ang gusto niya mag-bow down lahat sa kanya, but not Mordecai. Since then, nung nakita niya si Mordecai na hindi nag-respect sa kanya, pinag-initan niya si Mordecai. He always look at Mordecai. He build up anger kay Mordecai. The question is this, hindi ba hanggang ngayon sa generation natin may nangyayari talagang ganyan? Na sa loob ng office, sinisingle out ka nung na-promote na bagong manager, na sinisingle out ka sa isang group, na sinisingle out ka because they feel that they are threatened with your presence. See the significance of this? Yes. So anong nangyari? Yung galit niya kay Mordecai, nalaman niyang Jewish, gusto niyang ubusin lahat ng Jewish. He wanted to exterminate all the Jews. But since the authority was given to him by the king Ahasuerus, and even the signet ring ng hari binigay sa kanya, he abused the authority. He made a letter or a decree na pinapapatay lahat, inapprove ng king na patayin lahat ang Jewish. And he used the signet ring to make a stamp or a sign. So, obviously, the life of all the Jewish has been threatened. Papatayin silang lahat. So, after Esther learned of the scheme against the Jews, she made a decision to save her people even if it meant her own death. Alam niyo kung bakit? Pag wala kang appointment sa hari, hindi ka pwedeng humarap kahit na asawa ka pa. And if the king will be displeased, he can order you to be executed. What happened is, Mordecai encouraged Esther. She willingly took the opportunity that God had placed before her. Esther did not turn away in fear, but she stepped forward in faith. So the courage of beautiful Esther and the counsel of the wise Mordecai defeated Haman's plot. And Haman, what happened is, fast forward, Haman was beheaded and his 10 sons were hanged to death. Ano nangyari? As a result, the people of God, the children of God, was delivered from execution. Hindi pinabayaan ni Lord ang mga anak niya. And there, nangyari yung isa sa mga feast ng mga Jewish, yung tinatawag na Feast of Purim. Okay? Tignan ninyo ha, how significant and how important is this? Alam niyo ba yung Feast of Purim? And we are studying this right now. The Feast of Purim is a Jewish festival that they are celebrating every 14th of the month of Adar. What is the month of Adar? It is the month of March. Every 14th of the day. Why? Because that is their liberation from that scheme na ginawa ni Haman para patayin silang lahat. Ang nangyari, sila ang pumatay dun sa mga papatay sa kanila because the king allowed it. So anong nangyari? Ang ginawa ni Haman, nagpadala siya ng sulat sa lahat ng mga cities, lahat ng region. Lahat ng Jewish, patayin ninyo dyan. It is approved by the king. So obviously, ang mga kapulisan, ang mga military, papatayin sila. But Esther, by the grace of God, intervened. And he convinced the king. Sabi ni Esther, bakit mo papatayin? Hindi mo ba alam na ang nagligtas sa iyo doon sa 2 tao na yun is Jewish, si Mordecai? At si Mordecai, pinsan ko yan. At isipin mo, kung papatayin lahat ng Jewish, pati ako na asawa mo mamamatay. Papatayin nila ako. Nag-intervene si Lord. Binawi. At sabi ni King Ahasuerus, sige, kung anong dapat gawin mo. Ang ginawa ni Esther, nagpagawa siya ng sulat, ipinadala niya na, tigilan nyo yan, huwag niyong papatay ng mga Jewish, at kung sino man ang papatay sa mga Jewish, patayin ninyo. Those who will execute Jewish people, I want you to help them and kill those people na papatay sa kanila. So ibig sabihin, yung support ng military, yung support ng PNP, ng pulis, napunta ngayon sa mga Jewish. At pinatay nila. At kasama doon yung 10 anak ni Haman na binigti. So, ang nangyari, as a result, when they defeated the people who will kill them, nag-celebrate sila. Yun yung Feast of Purim, in commemoration of the deliverance of the Jews in Persia from destruction by Haman. It becomes an annual reminder of God's faithfulness to His people. Because through these circumstances, God demonstrated His eternal love and ability to protect His children, even you. He will always protect you. God took a plan to exterminate, not to continue that extermination of His people, and God turned it into blessing. Naging occasion pa to celebrate. To protect those who are His. God intervened a plan and made it a blessing. So what can we learn this? In the book of Esther, we can learn that God's invisible hand of providences, who cares for us, who protects us, and delivers for His children. And sometimes He uses godly people who is willing to stand up to position even in the face of serious danger to themselves. Sino sumulat? Unknown. When was the time the Book of Esther was written? The story of Book of Esther is set in the 5th century BC. So Esther was a present day during her time, like Zerubbabel, Ezra, and Nehemiah. Because she was used by God to protect God's children. So anong structure ng Book of Esther? The structure of Book of Esther is written as a historical narrative, and it is filled with interesting plan, and those plan that has been twisted by God through the heroism of Esther and Mordecai in the face of serious personal danger sa buhay ng mga Jewish. As you read the Book of Esther, I want you to learn the several life principles that plays an important role in this book. Okay? Number 1, obey God and leave all the consequences to Him. Esther chapter 4. Number 2, as a children of a sovereign God, bilang anak tayo ng Diyos, tandaan ninyo, we are never victims of circumstances. Because everything happens for the glory of God. Dito pinakita ni Lord kung gaano yung power niya and how He can change curse into blessing. Okay? Esther chapter 6. And in Esther chapter 9, we can learn the third principles of life, that adversity is a bridge to a deeper relationship with God. Alam niyo bang hiningi ni Esther? Bago ako humarap sa hari, before I face the king, and I'm not sure if he will be pleased or he will be angry at me, but Mordecai, tell to our people, pray and fast for me. Grabe yung kanyang faith, ano? Pray and fast. So, honestly, before we end, Esther is one of the strangest books in the Bible, which a book did not mention the name of God. Yet behind the events, it is the unmistakable hand of God's providence, His ruling and overruling of circumstances. He was a Jewish woman who rose to Persian throne in a series of unlikely series of events. When she learned that her people were endangered throughout the empire, she overcame her fears to take action to save them. Obviously with the help of Mordecai. And Esther defeated the plot of the enemies and delivered the Jews from what you called massacre. Sometimes our life seems to go nowhere or off script kung tawagin nila. Sometimes there are unlikely situations, there are difficult challenges, difficult plots in our life. There are dark moments in our life, and there are some confusing circumstances sa buhay natin, yung hindi natin maintindihan. Sometimes it's difficult to see God's plan in our life as we live day by day. But the message of Esther, and indeed mga kapatid of the whole Bible, is that God is involved in all the details of organizing and synchronizing and ruling and overruling what is happening in our life. Si Lord na nakakaalam. Again, Romans 8:28 tells us that all things work together for good in the lives of those who love the Lord. Sometimes may mga circumstances tayo, pinaghirapan ko bakit hindi ako nakapasa. Ginawa ko naman yung the best ko, pero bakit ganito parang things are not going the way I wanted them to be? Put your faith in God. Hindi ka man nag-organize ng buhay mo si Lord. Put your faith in God. Hindi man sunod-sunod yung nangyayari sa buhay mo, but I tell you this, God is perfectly synchronizing the events of your life. Hindi man nasusunod yung gusto mo, but I'll tell you this, God is the one who rules in your life. And if He needs to overrule your life, He will do it. We must trust God's providence, mga kapatid. We must trust to blend together all the strands, we need to trust all that God is doing, combining all the colors, because He is developing a perfect picture for us. Alam niyo, sabi ng isang sinusundan kong theologian, si B.B. Warfield, sabi niya, a firm faith in the universal providence of God is the solution of all earthly troubles. Ganda nun. Yeah. A firm faith in the universal providence of God is the solution of all earthly troubles. O ano pa sabi ng isa ni James Russell? Sabi niya, behind the dim unknown stands God with the shadow, keeping watch above His own. Kahit nakatayo ka sa dilim, you don't know what is happening around you. I'll tell you this, the Lord stands as your shadow, and He is keeping watch over you because you are His child. That is the message of Esther for us. So what is the key theme of the book of Esther? Trust the hidden resources of God's providence when you are unable to see visible solutions to life's circumstances. Yes, you have to trust. You may not see God, but you will feel and experience what He is doing in your life. All you have to do is to trust in Him. Because He is the Almighty, Sovereign God, King of Kings. Kasi yung solution ni Lord, it might be invisible, but it is happening. So what is our key challenge for the book of Esther? Simple lang. You have to do your part. You have to actively do your part to be of help to others during difficulties. Never give up in doing good. Trust in the knowledge that God will be doing His much greater part. Tandaan mo, hindi porket tumutulong ka, ginagawa mo, sinasabi mo, akala mo walang nangyayari. Meron. God's hand is at work. Just trust Him. Actively do your part. At makikita mo yung resulta. Di ba pag nagtanim ka ng buto, hindi mo naman nakikita kung ano nangyayari sa ilalim. Pag nagtanim ka ng buto, it is not your responsibility for that seed to bear fruit. But your responsibility is to nurture that seed, to water that seed. At yung pagbubunga, yung fruitfulness niyan, si Lord ang gumagawa niyan. Same thing in your life. Never give up in sharing the gospel, planting the seed of Jesus Christ in their hearts. And later on, one day, makikita mo, yung tinanim mo, mamumunga. What is our key verse? Our key verse for the book of Esther is Esther chapter 4, verse 14. Yet who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this. Esther 4:14, yet who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this. Bakit? Yung pagiging queen ni Esther, is it accidentally or God's purpose? Same thing in our life, mga kapatid. Yung nangyayari sa buhay mo, who knows whether you have to the kingdom for such a time as this. Baka yung pinagdadaanan mo, dyan mo makikita. Whatever you are facing right now, God will appoint you. God will promote you. And God will bless you. For such a time as this. Never give up. Put your faith in God. I hope and pray, mga kapatid, that we have learned a very powerful lesson this week. Especially itong last part natin na napakagandang storya. I encourage you to read the Book of Esther. Kayang-kaya nyo yan. Wala pang 10 minutes. It's just a 10 chapter. Okay? No? Basahin nyo po, napakaganda. My prayer is for us to live the Word of God. Ako pong muli si Pastor Bong, bumabati na isang mapagpalang Friday morning sa ating lahat at lagi nyo tatandaan, mga kapatid, believe and you will see. At wag na wag niyong kakalimutan, we are blessed by God. Enjoy your weekend. Ingat sa pagdadrive. Ingat-ingat. At the Lord is blessing all your hands sa lahat ng gagawin niyo, mga kapatid. I love you all with the love of the Lord.